Oh boy. Hold on, I'm having some technical difficulties. Oh boy. Okay, we're not going to do that. There you are. I was missing a tab. I apologize for that. And I was also trying to live stream this on YouTube, so it's in more than one place. And there was unfortunately an internet lag, so try that for next time. All right, give it just a minute. Michael and Peg, you have your folder on the budget from the last meeting that will work from? Okay, all right. We have Steve is with us this evening. Jeff Hansen is joining us, and we should have Sean, because there were just a few things we need to go through tonight. All right, one more minute. Okay, all right, I think we're all here. Okay, I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It is 6:35 on Tuesday, the 23rd of February, and we were here entirely via Zoom. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. This is specifically a meeting related to the Selectmen's budget. And we left off last time with some questions about our capital plans, some of the items that we had in their equipment highway. We had talked about the truck wash, Michael and Peg, the slab over at the highway department, and some of the capital maintenance items that Sean had prioritized. We also discussed fees for a planning consultant. So where would you like to begin? Would you like to begin with Jeff on the vehicles, or is there another starting point you'd like to jump off at?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Michael, you're muted. I think he likes it that way.
I'm
There
fine
we
with that, Julia. Thank you. I'm fine with that.
That's okay.
Sorry, Peg. I had to respond to something from work. My
That's
apologies.
okay.
I know.
That's okay.
Are you all right starting with Jeff and some of the capital lease items?
Sure.
All right, so let me pull up that screen. I could share. Okay. All right, can everyone see that? All right. Jeff, you're there?
Yep.
Can
Yeah.
you see this? Okay, all right,
Here, my video isn't working, so you're not going to be able to.
that's okay.
No, okay, so I am here.
So, all right. So this is our column for 21, 22. And there were some items in here that we were not all that familiar with because they came up this year, such as the truck wash and the slab at the mechanics garage. So perhaps you could start by discussing with us and the sweeper. I was unfamiliar with the sweeper that seemed to
Right.
pop up there.
Yep.
So why don't you go down your items here?
Okay.
And
All right, so we'll start with the slab at the mechanics garage. Right now, and for the last many years, they have been working with a pit. Pits are not illegal per se. However, they do require a lot more, as far as when it comes to OSHA, a lot more care than not. So our idea was to fill in the pit. This has been going on for probably 5 years, and I've had 3 or 4 different estimates on getting it done. I thought when I originally planned it, I thought it was just going to be a matter of basically my guys being able to fill the pit in, cover it with concrete, and we would go on our way. However, the floor is such a way that it's actually peaked near the pit. So it all has to be taken out and totally redone. It's more than we could ever do at Highway. It requires a concrete professional. So we would like to get that filled in. I have portable lifts that we had bought when we had the addition put onto the garage. You can't use them on asphalt. They have to be used on concrete, and they're being underutilized right now. If we were to level out that floor and extend the concrete slab out the building in front of the mechanics bays, we would be able to utilize those lifts, and we could get rid of the pit. And it's kind of an OSHA violation just waiting to happen, basically. Like I said, this is nothing new. I've discussed this with with others for like 5 years now to try to get it done. And like I said, we have had 3 or 4 different estimates on getting it done.
Yeah.
So it would just give us more room to work on the vehicles, and it would be actually a safer, and plus we wouldn't have to worry about if OSHA showed up and the pit was open. The pit is always supposed to be either covered or protected by fence if nothing's over it. And to be honest with you, that doesn't always happen. So that's where we're at with that.
But our pit does close, Jeff.
It does not.
It does not close. So we don't have the option to close it, which is why you usually try to put a vehicle down.
We always try to park a vehicle over it, but
Yeah.
but it's Murphy's Law. So we would be backing the truck out just to bring something else in, and that's when somebody would show up, I'm sure, and it would be open.
And
Like
we
I said, it's not an optimal for
Right.
what we do. It's not, it works, but it's not, the lifts are so much better. I just don't have really any place to use them.
One of the things Sean had mentioned, and Peg and Michael, I'm sure you recall a few years ago, there was the addition put on the other highway garage building. If you've been up there, that was a prefab, right, Jeff? And
It's a aluminum building. Yeah.
the reason being that the trucks could no longer fit in the old building. So we were parking trucks outside.
Correct.
Which is not ideal. So we're in the same situation with the mechanics building. We have trouble fitting things inside and they can't lift them. So that's also something that Sean raised and said, we don't have the ability to do an addition on the mechanics garage anytime soon. So anyway.
It's a fairly inexpensive item we would get a lot of bang for the buck with it. We would, it would, like I said, it would give us the opportunity to maybe bring a truck inside during the summer, bring a truck inside and work on it, and then use the lifts outside if we were to extend that slab. And, we could kind of be having two jobs at the same time. We do have a lift, but it only lifts cars. It won't lift our trucks. The new lifts will, but the existing little lift is just, it's not big enough for trucks.
Okay. So this is really the first year it's been on our list. Is this something that could wait until next year? What is the urgency?
It isn't actually not the first time. I think it might be the first time it made it this far,
Okay.
but without trying to throw anybody under the bus. It was supposedly on lifts for the last 5 years or so. So,
Just, all right, okay,
not my list though.
fair enough. Okay, all right. So we'll leave it here for now because I think in my opinion, we should present all of these to the Board of Finance for discussion because we don't know what the capacity is, given our budget and the school budget for these expenditures in the next year. So,
I have one thought, if you don't mind. It's so close to the $25,000 minimum threshold. How tight is that number, Jeff? Because, to me, it's a hard thing to consider capital. It's kind of like a repair thing to me. I mean, can it be done for less than 30,000? It could be, handled through the operating budget?
I mean, we could look into it. We can get an estimate. I mean, we're just estimating on what we've gotten in the past, the estimates we've gotten in the past. So that's where we're at with it. I could get together with Sean and we could have somebody come down certainly and have them take another look and see where we're at with it,
and to that question, is this the work or is this the engineering for it?
No, this is the actual work.
For the wash bay. Yeah, I see two lines down. I apologize.
Yeah, no, this is the actual work.
Okay. So normally we would keep the engineering and the actual work in the same budget.
This would not require any engineering.
For the wash bay. Okay.
The mechanics bay is just getting a qualified concrete contractor in, and we would probably do some of the demolition ourselves to try to save some money. And they basically would be in to make sure we had a level floor and it was done properly and it was done safely, for us to use later on with the right materials and stuff. But we wouldn't need an engineer to oversee it. Well, we would use Sean and his expertise and myself and the concrete contractor.
Questions on that?
No, I don't have a question, but I mean, I simply would point out, I understand, Steve saying, hey, maybe we can take it off the capital list. And certainly that's true, but either way, it's something that we have to pay for. So, it's not, moving it from here to an operating budget, which may be the right thing to do, but it still is going to be something that has to be paid for either way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, Kim, board chair prerogative. Yes.
I would prefer it not be on the operating budget this year, which is already looking expensive.
Yeah. Okay.
We do have
We
some funds for capital. We have capital funds if something like this really needs to be done.
We do. And those are in another slide that we look at. So.
I mean, ultimately, it's not my call, but
Well, ultimately, the Board of Finance will decide where to fund these things. And then we, as a board, have to decide what, based on your recommendation, what goes forward. And then
right.
some of the items that might be nice to have but not need to have go on a separate line at the referendum, for instance. Anyway, so for future discussion.
I might reframe that as urgent or less urgent.
Okay. All right. Okay. Should we move on from this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just ask Jeff, as you explain the next two, to Kim's point, could you just give us a priority, if you can, which of these, how you rank these three, or if they're all the same, they're all the same, but if you can give us an estimate when you're done talking about which ones you think are more important than others, that'd be appreciated.
Yep, I can do that.
Thanks.
So you want me to do it now or after I explain?
So you can explain them. It makes sense.
Okay, so are we going down to just the highlighted ones, or are we going right down to everything?
No, just go through everything. I highlighted them. Yeah.
So the next one is the bathrooms and break room. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So reconfiguring the bathroom and break room, it's kind of started as just trying to add a bathroom because we have one bathroom in our facility We do have a female employee we share a bathroom with, and I just thought it was the right thing to do to try to squeeze another bathroom in somewhere. And talking to Sean, he said, if you're gonna do that, you know, there's other parts of that break room, bathroom, area that needs work. And he suggested that if we're doing that, we should just kind of go all the way. We're moving the kitchen over into half a bay, half a garage bay. We're converting the now kitchen into a men's bathroom and shower. And then we would change the other bathroom, I assume, into a ladies' powder room, and um, you know, would get some paint and some ceiling tiles and things like that. The big items would be moving the kitchen and building a bathroom / locker room with a shower. Um, so that was the idea with that. It kind of all started with just putting in a second bathroom in, and it kind of went to there. Um, then the third one is the wash bay. So the wash bay is something that's kind of the gorilla in the room, because DEP, we really can't wash trucks. What we're doing, you know, you can't wash trucks outside, period. Um, we don't have a facility to wash trucks. For the last few years, I've heard rumors kicking around that our group, highway officials group, or the COG, was going to get some money and build a regional truck wash. And that's where it is. It's just rumors. I haven't seen anything that even is close to that ever happening in my future. Besides the fact that it would be, Danbury was one of the choices, Newtown was one of the choices, and we all know that after a snowstorm, we all run to the car wash and get our car washed, and then by the time we get home, it's filthy again. So it would kind of be the same thing. We would run up and get our trucks washed, and by the time we drove them back, you know, there would be salt and everything on the undercarriage again. So it's a regional truck wash, although in theory is nice. If you have to drive back after after you wash it, it's kind of defeats the point. Right now, I am sparingly hiring a company to come in that washes the trucks, hoses the trucks off, power washes them, captures the water and hauls it away. It's about $1,000 every time they come in. So, and it's something that's going to have to be done sooner or later. If it's not done this year, you know, it'll be back on next year. If it's not done next year, and it's going to keep on recurring until we get a truck wash. The problem is one of the problems is that my facility is septic. So there's a couple extra steps that have to take place. We would have to get a tank, a holding tank. There would be a gross particle separator, a oil water separator, and then a holding tank. That holding tank would have to get pumped out, and we would pay for it as I don't know if they consider it hazardous waste, but you have to pay. Last I knew, it was like 40 or 50 cents a gallon to pump it out and have it brought to a facility and disposed of properly. If we had sewers, we would just need the two separators and it could go right into the sewer. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. So that would be, you know, that's the truck wash, and it's just something that sooner or later is going to have to be done. And all I'm looking for is the engineering to see what we would need. It would take an addition to the building, plumbing, heating, drains, the tanks, the 3 tanks put in the ground, the 2 separators, and the holding tank. So it's not a small job by any means. And I wish I could throw a number at you, but I really don't know. But it's got to be at least 500,000 to build the actual truck wash, I would think, you know. So I'm just looking to try to figure out how much it's going to cost. So I'm not sure. The engineering is, again, that's an estimate too. I don't know if we would even come anywhere close to that as far as getting a consultant in to tell us what we can do and how we can do it. I know in my mind how I would like it, but I don't know if it's feasible. So it's nice to have somebody that does those all the time come in and tell us, no, you can't do that. You're better off doing this, and get it done right the first time. I don't know if it would work, but the police department pays to have their cars washed all the time. This would save that. Don't know if the police would want to wash their own cars, or if we could, like where I live, what they do is they have community service people come in and wash their cars at their facility. So, if we had a place to do it, perhaps that could be an option, and we would save the money it costs for to wash the police cars. That's kind of,
Yeah.
an idea of what might happen.
Have we thought about, is there another place that it could be done? What I can't help but think about is Georgetown, and we actually own the water pollution control. I mean, because that's on a sewer system, would that make some sense to at least investigate?
To me, absolutely. However, I just fear that I know that's kind of not anywhere near the vision of Georgetown, to have a truck wash down there. So that
Yeah,
would,
but at the water pollution control plant, that's already kind of a municipal area.
it's,
There's no room there, Peg.
Okay.
Wash.
yeah, it would be city, down there it's city, municipal water, municipal sewer, it would be a great place. However, I'm not sure a truck wash would fit into what the vision is for the wire mill. That's
Well,
the only thing I'm worried about.
Julie, is this something we can talk to other towns about, trying to figure a coordinated approach?
Right. Well, we've done this at the COG before, I think, as Jeff pointed out, and it's come to naught. The point was also made, you could drive somewhere to get your truck washed and drive home, and the whole bottom is, salty again. But I know we have discussed this at the COG before, and a regional approach has not worked.
And there's no way you can wash the trucks outside? Is that
Not-
what is that a state rule, a federal rule? What is that?
It's a DEP rule.
We have to collect all the water. In fact, they did a spot inspection 2 years ago, and over by the, they could tell that we'd run a hose, and there was that sheen on the pavement. And so we were penalized for that. Do you recall that, Jeff?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, it was, anyway, so.
Yeah.
bad timing. So I think it would make sense to do an RFP for the engineering services so that we know what that will entail.
Okay.
And that we can, I'm sure, get from, did you say which town it was? Was it New Fairfield that did the truck wash? I had looked at something else.
Newtown was supposed to. I don't know where they're at with it. I can call over there and see if they ever did, because they supposedly, like 2 years ago, it was in their budget. The engineering part of it was in their budget. That's why I kind of had high hopes that
Okay,
they're going to put it up, because they want to put theirs up Fairfield Hills.
right.
I never heard any more about it, and I either often I don't see any movement, so I don't think it's being built.
It's not something we just want to build, Michael. I mean, it would
No,
be.
but can I ask why this is happening now? And if there are other towns that seem to be in a similar situation as us, what's the impetus for this?
They're all doing the same. A lot of them, I'll give you, for instance, New Milford converted their old salt barn into a truck wash. And so
Yeah.
it was fairly inexpensive because they already had a facility to do it. I'm trying to think. Other towns have truck washes. Some towns have brand new facilities for their public works, so they incorporated truck washes into them.
Mhm.
And some are washing trucks and rolling the dice. So,
Do we know, Jeff, how many towns are like ours and don't have one?
there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're rolling the dice,
And I
Because
think,
it's,
I don't know what
sorry, but
I don't know what the fine or whatever would be if you ever got caught. I mean, I had to write a letter and stuff when they saw the soap. They saw soap suds on the ground. And there's kind of a fine line if you can rinse them and not wash them, or they say no because it's the oil and grease and stuff, So
right. No, I appreciate you're trying to figure out a way to come in compliance. I understand that, and I appreciate your effort here. I'm just curious as to the status, throughout the state, because it seems it may be an onerous issue for many municipalities besides our own.
Yeah, it's kind of like, DEP. I don't think they really go looking for people, but if they happen to do an inspection and see it, they don't go out and like after a storm, I don't think, and actually look for people washing trucks. But
Right.
it is it is the standard. It's been that way for quite some time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It started this probably 15 years ago or so, maybe, give or take.
Well, it calls, for a regional solution. I mean, we've got Weston on one side, Wilton on the other. We're talking about all sorts of regional approaches, and for some reason, the truck wash is not.
Yeah, for us to team up with Wilton and Weston would be ideal.
Yeah,
We're right
yeah.
here. But, I don't know if they're willing to do it. So,
All right. Well,
I think that's something that we do need to pursue a little bit more to see if there's any possibility for regionalization, simply because any one town of these towns isn't going to be using it that much every day. I mean, and so that with the kind of cost that we're talking about, it could be something that if one of these towns has a place to do it, they could actually, help pay the cost by subbing it out to other towns. So
absolutely.
yeah.
As long as they're close, as long as they're close. Like I said, for us to drive to Danbury or even Newtown is kind of crazy. For us to drive to Wilton's not so bad, or Weston's not horrible, especially if they, it's closer to Georgetown, maybe,
Or Ridgefield.
Yep.
Right.
It wouldn't be bad. I
Now,
don't know.
Jeff or Julia, is this a DEP regulation or a state statute? Do you know?
I believe it's a regulation.
Yes, I believe it is.
Pretty sure it comes under the whole MS4 permit
Yes. I believe you're right.
that they intensified. And so, they were coming around and checking all our catch basins, how often we sweep the streets. I think they proposed the stronger regulations, I want to say 6 years ago. And we really haven't borne the full brunt of that.
Yeah. Do you know what kind of penalty provision is related to these regulations?
I don't, Michael, off the top of my head, but I will look that up. I remember it, when we talked about this a few years ago, yes, but I don't recall it off the top of my head.
Was it part of all this? We were talking about the water basin, the runoff, and all that stuff, Julia. It's the same it's the same deal.
Same kind of thing. So the original proposal, because Reading fell into like a tier 1 community, which was crazy.
Yep.
We would have had to sweep the streets once a month, right, Jeff? Sweep the street.
Yeah.
Municipal leaf collection.
Leaf removal and all that stuff. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absurd for a town that blows its leaves into the woods.
Right.
So we did get some relief from some of that. So I think what makes sense to do at this point, Jeff, is to do an RFP so that we can get an estimate on the engineering cost piece.
Yep.
And simultaneously reach out to Weston, because they're of similar size, to see if there could be a joint effort. I would think that they would be pretty amenable to it.
Yep. I
All
can read
have
that.
the same issue with these deteriorating trucks. The bottoms are just rotting. So.
Yep, I know I can do all those things. I'll reach out to a couple other towns. I'll try to reach out to a couple other towns and see what they are doing, and where they're going, and see if there's any viable option to team up with somebody. I'll take care of all that. Sure.
I have a COG meeting tomorrow on regional broadband. We're trying to look for give our communities an alternative to Optimum. Anyway, so I can bring it up to my colleagues tomorrow.
Okay.
This is an aside, a shared truck wash.
Okay. So then moving down to my next one would be the sweeper repair. And that is, we have a street sweeper. It didn't run last year. I got the estimate last year to get it fixed, and it was right around 30,000. That's a pretty solid estimate to get it repaired back to operational. A new sweeper is like 200,000 for a new sweeper nowadays. So I thought for the amount we use it, the 30,000 is the way to go. It's still, the motor runs, everything runs. It's just the conveyor in the front got bent and it needs to be replaced and a few other things. And it's a big ticket item. So we do contract out for our annual sweeping program. They come in and they do in 80 hours, they do what it used to take the guys here 3-4 months to do. So it's a no-brainer to do it for the price. And it's, you can use tar money to do it. So it doesn't come out of the budget to sweep the streets. So we do farm that out. However, there are the MS4 where you're supposed to spot sweep like centers of towns, like center of Georgetown, which we really aren't doing right now. Plus, if we get a buildup of sand or if we have some kind of a spill or before, like I have to hire a sweeper to come in when we're paving for the day before we pave so we can sweep the road. Then the paving gets put off 2 or 3 days. And then I have to make a choice of, do I sweep it again or do I just pave the way it is? Because I don't want to bring the sweeper in again for a day. So us to have that sweeper, it's a good piece of equipment to have in our rolling stock. And right now we don't have one. So I'd like to send that out and get it rebuilt and get it back on the road. And for the amount we use it, I think it would be a good, again, it's not a whole lot of money. I know if you say that a lot of times, it turns into a whole lot of money, but it really isn't. When you consider a new one is about 200,000, I've been told. So
Could we
But
purchase?
wouldn't this really be a repair? And not a capital item?
well, but it's going to be.
the expense?
Maybe I'm confused because it definitely is going to, this is a pretty accurate quote because I had him come down and look at it and he gave me a written quote. As a matter of fact, I think I gave it to Steve. So it's definitely over the 25,000 threshold.
But it won't last 20 years. So this isn't something we would borrow for, but yeah, it is a borderline issue. It is a repair.
Right. I mean, it's not a new capital item. It's, I mean, certainly I could see it going into, it seems to me that it would be perfectly suited for capital and non-recurring, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't think of it as a capital item.
Well, and so perhaps, Peg, that's the differentiation when a request is made to the Board of Finance, that because it is over the dollar amount, but not a capital item, that the
Yeah.
non-recurring aspect. So that's.
So, I mean, I understand why it's here, but yeah, it's not something that I think we should borrow for.
No, I don't. I agree. We shouldn't. I'd like to see us not borrow for any of this if we can possibly. Avoid it. So the question I have then, Jeff, is what's the useful life of this piece of equipment after we spend $30,000 to fix it?
For the amount we use it, it probably would last another 15 or 20 years for the amount we use it, with regular maintenance and stuff, because he's going to kind of rebuild the whole thing and it's going to be, as long as the engine runs, I could see it running for quite some time. It's not a piece of equipment that it's going to go out every day or be used every day. It's going to be used basically for emergencies, for paving, and maybe for some spot sweeping where needed. But maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So based on the cost of fixing this, and rather than all of the other essentially hoops you have to jump through, not really the right word, but to get a sweeper in before you pave, do you think this cost, justifies the?
Well, I think the sweeper, I don't have the price, but I think it's like $187 an hour.
Okay.
So if you're talking $187 an hour, it's just under $1,000 a day.
Adds up really quickly. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, that's some perspective.
Yeah.
That's some
I
perspective.
think that's what it is, about 108.
So it would pay for itself fairly quickly.
Yeah, it would, yeah, it would if we could take it out ourselves. And plus, like I said, the big thing is, it happened to me a lot this past year where, I hired a sweeper to come down, he swept, and then the paving got put off for a couple days. And,
Mhm.
I like to actually sweep the morning of, and,
Yeah.
I just can't do it with a rental. So with our own sweeper, I could have a guy come in at 3 or 4 in the morning and sweep it before the paver gets there, so,
So I have one question about the sweeping, because we're talking about MS4 permit, just in relation to this. Part of the issue that we have also is that there's nowhere to dispose of this stuff. So we can't just suck the debris out of the catch basins and sweep the sides of the road and then take this material and dump it someplace. We can't put it on the side of the road. So Jeff, what are we doing with the sweepings at this
Well,
point?
right now, believe it or not, we don't get a lot anymore, only because we're using all salt now, so we don't get a lot. And right now, we're just dumping it at our facility.
All right.
It's there, and then we mix it with good material, and we make good material out of it. We dilute it. We
Okay.
dilute it with good stuff.
Okay. And
So
use that back in the road work?
yeah, so it comes back into but it's good material by the time we screen it. We screen it, we get rid of all the debris, and then we mix it with like stuff from drainage projects and stuff, which is good
Mhm.
earth. And
Okay.
we have some, I still at the garage, but we're not getting anywhere near like what we used to, only because there's just not a lot of sand on the roads anymore.
Right. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any other questions for Jeff here?
No, thanks, Jeff.
So you want me to
Down to the other vehicles?
and you want me to prioritize these though first?
Please, Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, so I would say right now, the mechanics slab would be like a number one priority. I would like to see the sweeper repaired only because it's just sitting there, and I really think we need it. I would like to see that as a number one priority. The wash bay, I think that we really should just at least get the ball rolling on it, even if we don't, let me do the RFP at least, and see where we're at with it, and maybe it'll come in a lot cheaper and we can get that done. I'd like to at least because even if we were to do this year, the engineering, that's 2 or 3 years probably down the road before it comes to an actual building. So, those would be, and then the bathroom and the break room probably would be the last of those 4 that I would do. Like I said, it would be nice to get them all, but if I was to have to put one off for sure, it would be the bathroom and the break room. We're surviving with it the way it is, and luckily I have an understanding admin that we have a solid lock on the door and understanding admin, so she I don't really have an issue with it right now. So those would be, I would say the mechanic slab would be the first thing I would like to see done, only because I've been chasing it for like 5 years, and it's finally, at least I'm seeing a little more movement than I've seen in the past on it.
Okay, so mechanics bay, number 1, sweeper repair, number 2, and the engineering for the wash bay. So those 3 items are bold.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if we go down the lift gate truck, I know I told you folks before, that is going to be replacing a 1998 vehicle. That's just kind of come to its end of life. It's, it's still running right now, but it's just, I don't know for how much longer. It's just, it's lived out its useful life. It started out as a plow truck, and now it's they put a utility body on it. the town definitely got their money's worth out of it, but it's time to retire it and move on. The mechanic service truck, right now, the mechanics are using the old animal control officers mini van, transit van, whatever you call it. And it's just not a suitable vehicle for what they do. I'd like to set them up with an actual service vehicle. So, I mean, just for instance, during this past little storm we had night before last, I had a truck breakdown, and they have to go, instead of having everything on the truck where you can just jump in, start it up and go. They have to go out, look what they need, come back, throw the stuff in the truck, go back out there, fix it. So if they had an actual service vehicle that had the proper tools on it to fix the trucks, it would just make the repairs a lot quicker, a lot easier, and a lot better for them. It would have everything on it that they need to do the repairs. And then the last one is the combination backhoe loader. And I know I discussed that before. Although the one we have now is not that old. I think it's only like 10, maybe 11 years old. It never, since I've been here, it never was a real good piece of equipment. It has a lot of breakdowns, a lot of issues with it. So, and it's something that goes out of my garage every single day. We use that every single day, whether it be for cleaning waterways or doing drainage or picking up trees or picking up debris. It's a well-used piece of equipment. And if I was to get a new one, the one I have now, the 10-year-old one would become a spare, because sometimes we do run two in the same day. And then I have a third one that's another one that's a really old one that would go on the auction block, and we would get rid of it and recoup a few dollars. I'm not saying we would get a lot for it, but it'd be a few thousand we would get for it. So that would bring some of the money back. But I know Peg said she knew somebody that it's a Volvo backhoe loader, and Volvo only made them for a couple of years, and they realized that they shouldn't have ever made them, and they stopped making that particular kind of equipment. They got out of that making combination loader backhoes. And it's just been kind of a lemon since day one, basically. So it's time to kind of step it down to a spare machine and get something new that is a better machine and more reliable. And I mean, I have a stack. I I put all my paperwork on my desk to grab them when I left, and it's on my desk right now. So I forgot it, but I could show you the stack of repairs that have been done to that. It's just incredible how much time and money we've put into that machine for a newer machine. So
Jeff, remind me, which ones were in the plan last year that we put off?
I believe it was the lift gate. I mean, the lift gate truck, and the mechanic service truck, I believe, were both in last year's.
Okay.
And we ended up getting nothing last year.
Right. Okay. So these are the two that we put off.
Right. And then, I mean, just the liftgate truck originally was estimated 85. The price came in at 65. So, and then the backhoe, I was originally 175, and that actually with we got an actual bid for it, and it was 145.
Okay. Okay. And these are 5-year lease purchase, Steve?
Yes.
And the lease payments are in a separate line, so we can take a look at that. See what the annual lease payments are on these vehicles.
Well, it'd be roughly 20% of the cost because the interest rate is so low.
Okay.
Take the values, in this case, it would be 150. So it's 30,000 for those two pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Probably 32,000. It's in the budget.
Yes. No, I know it's in the budget already. So, okay. All right. So thoughts, Michael and Peg? Peg, I think you're muted, Peg.
Sorry, my phone was ringing. And so I the $77,000 is in our operating budget now.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure of that. Thanks. And thanks, Steve. I know you said it, but I just wanted to make sure I heard it right.
Yep. So that's already there.
No questions.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. And Jeff, you just want to comment on the road plan really quickly. When do you anticipate starting with this year's road work?
If it ever stops snowing. So last year we were actually putting pipe in the whole month of March. We got a good jump on it. I don't anticipate it this year to get going quite as soon. However, we were able to, because we had a pretty slack fall and early winter. Newtown Turnpike extension is pretty much done. There's a little bit more work to do out there, but we're going to be ready early to do that particular road. I've already spoken to my reclaiming contractor and told him I want to go, early on that one. I'll talk to my paving contractor and let him know. So that road will be the first one we're doing. And I want to say May. Wishful thinking April, but I want to say May, we should be able to get on that road. And then we're going to move on from there. I got to reassess after this winter. Some of the roads got beat up a little bit. So I'm going to have to reassess where I'm going next. But I know that's the first one on the list. I'm trying to plan them so they're kind of together. So when the paving contractor comes, he doesn't have to come one side of town, then the other. Last year, that's what we did, and we made some good progress. So now, with the exception of Pine Tree, everything east of Route 58 is pretty much done. Poverty Hollow, the piece of Poverty Hollow from Meeker up to Churchill probably could use some, but it's really not on the list yet. There's roads that are worse, but other than that, all the other, Woodland, West Woodland, Stepney, Sport Hill, all those roads have been done over there. I plan on doing something to Pine Tree, hopefully this year. I'm not sure what yet, but we're going to do something there. But that's where we're at with, we're moving along.
Jeff, can I ask about how the salt's holding up?
We're actually really good.
Yeah.
I started only because I started out last year. We didn't use any. So I
Yeah, I
started
remember
out,
we were stacked at the beginning, right? This
yeah,
year.
so I started out with like 800 tons in my shed. And then I ordered about 1,500 out of a 2,000 order. I have a couple more loads coming in, and that will bring me up to 1,500 I ordered for this year. I still have about between 450 and 500 in the bank, so to speak, that I can order, which I will before the end of the year and bring it in. And we probably have 300 or maybe 400 in my shed right now. So we are not, I got a little nervous 2 weeks ago and last week, only because I don't know if you saw the news, but they closed the New London Pier down. So
Yeah.
people were getting salt from DRVN, is the company that was there. People that were getting salt from DRVN, they all migrated to Gateway, which is where I get mine. So yeah, everybody and their brother was there. So the trucks were coming now yesterday I got 4, today I think I got 3. So they're coming a little more regularly now. So I think things calm down. There's four salt vendors that work out of the Gateway Pier, the New Haven Pier. I happen to buy from Morton Salt, and that's the one the state buys from. So unfortunately, they kind of take care of the state first, and then the municipality second. But yeah, we're okay. We got enough for a few more storms in there, and I'm gonna have more coming in. We used a lot this year. Month of February. I shouldn't say this year. December and February, the beginning and the end were tough.
Thanks to all you guys and for your crew for doing it. They've been doing a great job, and I know you keep the relations up with the guys at Gateway. So thanks for doing that as well. It helps.
Yeah, I you know, I got to know the guy, the dispatcher down there pretty good, and I call him up and, you know, I don't jump up and down. I try being nice to him, say, listen, I really hurt. And then he'll send some stuff up to me. So it's, you know,
No, that's good. Good luck with everything the rest of the way. Thanks.
yeah, hopefully.
Thanks so
Before you sign off, and Michael and Peg, I neglected to mention this, but Jeff's crew is doing more in terms of clearing snow than they've done in years past, and grounds maintenance than they've done in years past, because we've had an employee out on extended leave, workers' comp. So Jeff was fully staffed last year for the first time in some time. So we were able to take, again, 2 of his crew spend 1 day during the growing season doing the lawns. And so I just wanted to make you aware of that. One of
2
the
days. They do Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Wednesdays and Thursdays, we
Yeah.
did meet with the school, with Clarence. So Jeff and Sean both went over and met with Clarence, Zachary. So we can talk about that later. So, you know, there's some possibilities there, but Jeff is also now doing the plowing at the water pollution control facility, the sewer plant, because their contractor quit and just quit, didn't give them any notice. They did go out to got 3 bids, and the costs were very high. I was the water pollution meeting last week. If you had 12 inches of snow, one of the quotes was $4,000.
Wow.
And if you do a per push, it was like $1,200 a push. So it was incredibly expensive. So when you're talking about 12 inches of snow and a $4,000 plowing bill for one event, so I don't know how much plowing you can do with any of these new trucks, Jeff, but I know you're stretching. I know you're stretching. So thank you.
I think I told you, and again, I'm not looking for any praise, but I take the pickup down and basically do that myself, only because it's easier with a small truck anyhow. And then the salt truck comes down, hits it with salt, and he helps me out too. And then after the storm's over, when we're cleaning Georgetown, we clean the snow out of it. So it's been working okay. I mean, it's not, the good thing is that they don't work at night, so it's no big deal if we let it go at night. And they also work remotely. They don't always go there. They can work, Gino and his worker can work from home and run the plant. So it's not like if we ever had to do that like the train station, we couldn't keep up. It would be a whole different story. But because we have the ability to let it go until kind of the end, like I'll go down there in the middle of the storm and just clean it up a little bit. And then after the storm is over, right before it ends, we go down there and do a final push. But if we had to keep it, all the time, it would be a different story. We wouldn't be able to do it like we are. So my guys, they worked hard this last month. This not even a month yet. Month of February was tough for them.
So could you stay on, because we're going to talk about the maintenance piece at some point. And, as I said, your crew is doing more. We are also now doing all the sidewalks on 107, which is not the town's responsibility. It is the state's responsibility. And there's a bit of a glitch. Typically, it would be the abutting property owner's responsibility to clear the sidewalks. We'd need a sidewalk ordinance to make that happen. Part of the agreement with the streetscape was that the town would do the clearing of Georgetown Main Street's sidewalks and do the plowing. But it doesn't extend to the sidewalks that were done as part of the streetscape enhancement on Route 7 walking towards Carluzzi's. So we're doing those as of this year as well, because we have residents who like to walk to the store. And we're getting a lot of complaints about that. So they're doing a great job there, but we are stretched thin. So as we get to a discussion about doing the grounds and taking over some of the maintenance of the schools, whether it's as much of a cost savings or simply an efficiency in having our folks do it, I just want you to be aware of that. So Jeff, if you'd hang on with us.
Yes, I sure will.
Okay, thanks.
If you got any other questions, I'll be here. You can just ask me.
All right. Sean, are you here?
I am.
There you are. Okay. Thank you. At our last meeting, we went through the list that you provided with us where you prioritized some of the items. I have that list. Michael and Peg, do you want me to switch to that list or do you want to keep this list up? And just have Sean go through these things?
Uh,
Whichever.
Yeah.
I don't
As
have a
long-
preference. Do you, Michael?
No, as long as that we can see which he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Sean, we discussed the Lone Town Farmhouse refurb. And on your priority sheet, you broke that out into two numbers. You broke it out into window replacement and the repair of the exterior, which was about 27,000, if I'm not mistaken.
27 is the right number. So the number one item is the exterior repair, the porch, the siding and the roof. That number 27,000 actually came from the historical folks,
Okay.
whatever kind of bid they got from somebody.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% sure about what is involved in that or what the extent of their repair is going to be. Whether they're going to take it all off and put it on or just kind of spot repair stuff. That wasn't clear in the information that I had.
I know that they did go out and get a quotes from builders who are qualified to work on historical structures. So we can back that out. And the question that we talked about was, if our staff can do it and simply pay for the cost of materials, that would bring the cost down below the 27,000 for sure. So that would be preferable. Of course, the town is responsible for the upkeep of the building. Anything that's not, a hinge or very basic things. So, all right. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to split this 65,750, Michael and Peg, and just keep 27 here for now. Can I do that? Because the window replacement is very expensive and that requires, I believe we're going to need some assistance from the Connecticut Trust there. They've come down and looked at these windows before. The folks at the Historical Society had wanted to restore these windows, save the old bottle glass, and there was a recommendation by the circuit rider for the Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation to approach it differently. So I don't think we're ready to replace these windows. And certainly not this year because we're doing, we've got the meeting, our town hall window to do. So I'd suggest breaking that up.
So you're suggesting leaving half in for this year and putting half in the next year? Is that?
I'm suggesting taking 27 out of this 65 and putting 38,750 next year. So I'll just do 38.
Okay.
Push it out. And, this is for purposes of our public hearing, which is March 18th, I think. But again, these are capital items, so they may go on a separate line.
Okay.
So this one would be 27. Wait.
Oh. It has something in front of it. That's why. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay. And the 27 could come down if we do it and just pay for materials, which is my preference. I think this is pretty straight up work. In which case it's not a capital item, it's a maintenance item.
Right.
And this would go somewhere else. Okay. Okay. All right. I don't know that we need to discuss the roof of the
Nope,
town hall. That's next year.
nope, that's next year.
The meeting room window.
Yes.
So we have a drawing in place to do this window. It needs a few revisions to it before we actually send it out for a real bid. That number was kind of an educated guess from me, and then it was confirmed by a local builder, a very good builder. He spent some time and came up with a similar number. It really is a priority to get that done. So I'm concerned about it actually falling out of there. So
I see that you had sent some information about this to Julia, which she provided to us. And it shows a cost of about $77,000 for that window. My question is, there's a management fee in there. Why is there a management fee?
well, it's going to be a general contractor on site taking care of the whole thing, basically.
Oh.
So that would be their markup cost.
Okay. And Sean, is that because of, in addition to the window, there are other structural repairs to that side of town hall because there's rot?
Yeah, so it's still unknown until we take it apart whether the posting on the corners are solid or not.
Right.
From the little bits that I can see, I don't think there's anything particularly nasty in there that we're going to find.
Right.
We might find something up close to the back side of the roof where it hits the old building. That still, I think, has all the old paint on it from years and years ago. So that siding is really old. If anybody walked back and looked at it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Right.
I've been underneath it in the crawl space, and it doesn't look like there's any structural issues down there. So structurally, I think we're in good shape. The windows are custom, so the builder's going to be involved in ordering that stuff, getting it spec'd out, having us agree that the spec is correct, and then having those windows constructed and delivered to the site logistically at the correct time so he can put it in. So that's all part of his management on the job.
Is this
And it-
something that would go out to bid?
Yes, it would, and it would be the
Okay.
same with any contractor. They're going to have that management markup in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's also important to point out that the window itself is not the $75,000. There's all sorts,
Right.
again, the other repairs related to the town hall itself, the back of town hall.
Mhm.
Correct. So on the drawing, Peg and Michael, you would have seen the siding is dropping down, so there'll be some foundation repair there. There's currently a concrete plaster on it. So the siding would drop down a little bit to match the rest of the building. And then we're pretty much going to rebuild the top of that roof up there and put a sheet copper metal roof up there and reflash it. So we'll be repitching it a little bit to pick the pitch up a little more to get better drainage off that roof
Mhm.
so that any water issues in the future are minimalized.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I certainly agree with that. I mean, honestly, it's really a very beautiful window. It's a lovely place to sit when it's not either really cold or really hot there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and actually looking at that little picture, that little door on the left into the foundation,
Mhm.
I think we're going to change that to an insulated door. We've had issues with the sprinkler system freezing down there.
Mhm.
ugh,
And there are pipes in there on a dry system, and
Yeah.
the air goes through that building in the crawl space and goes to the wet system somewhere.
Yeah.
and causes issues with alarm systems on the sprinkler. So we'll definitely deal with that. And that's pretty much where the prevailing wind is blowing from. So if that thing's cracked open, you're
Yeah.
getting tons of cold air in there.
Well, here's
Yeah.
a photograph of it when you see it. You walk back there and the whole thing is it's just rotted away.
Right. So the picture on the left is the revised version. The picture on the right is what it looks like now.
Yeah.
Even looking at that siding on that old picture, you can see the difference in the paint.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Doesn't want to. There you go. Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
it. We've been patching this together for a while. There's literally duct tape and foam insulation in there. But anyway,
Right.
it's
I
it's
think we have issues around there too with ventilation because of all the trees and, you know, it captures the moisture at the back of that building. I think that's not helping that siding either.
So Michael and Peg, I happened to mention to you some of the history. I have a binder that was done by the committee overseeing the renovations to Town Hall all those years ago. Sean, were you here when that was done?
I showed up right after that. I think that was like 97 or 96 or something.
So in our code of ordinances, there is something way in the back. There was a special act to convey this building that was then the Hill School to the town for educational purposes. It was a school. And then at some time in the late, mid 19 something or other, 1918 became, started to transition to a town building from a school. So it's very old and historic. And so this is really, I mean, it's the one room that we have where we all come together as a community. It's a meeting room. And I think if you go to other town halls, there usually is a meeting room with a special feature. And certainly this one is ours. So, and it looks out over the parade path. It is in a historic district. I'm not sure people know that this is Reading, other than Georgetown, this is a National Historic Registered District. And all of the old homes in the area around the Congregational Church, there's actually a map of all those historic houses, some of which are still standing, which is pretty cool. So anyway. All right. That's a little history. Shall I stop the share? Stop the share. Any questions about the window?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Thank you, Sean.
Yep, Sean, thanks.
Let's see here. Windows. And we have the exterior of the building that we had hoped to do 2 years ago. We fixed the woodwork, John?
Yeah, I believe there was some trim replacement and a little bit of the clapboard siding replaced a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think it may only have been primed. I don't think it was ever finished with a paint coat.
No, they never came back to paint it. We didn't pay for it, but they were to have painted it and they disappeared.
Right. So this has been kind of floating around for a couple of years. It's really something that should be done, not just aesthetically, but to protect the outside of the building and weatherproof the building. The more cracks and stuff you have, the more water you're going to get in there that you can't see, and it'll damage the structure over a long period of time. That particular job would commence after the windows have been complete. So that way we can get everything done in one shot, including all the siding up above that roof. That probably on the back side needs to be stripped and painted first. But like I say, it's been hanging around for a while. So it's something that should be done ASAP.
This was money that you may recall. We had taken Steve from contingency, correct? To do the woodwork repair, Steve Nidek?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And so the firm that did your building, Sean, the same outfit that did your building did a beautiful job.
Yes.
Did the woodwork on Town Hall, but never did the painting. So I'm almost wondering whether that somehow was never contracted out, but be that as it may, it does need to be done.
Yes, I can't remember the name of that painting company. I've got it in my office, but they did a great job on my building.
They did a really good job. So we should find out what happened with them. And but I know we'll get at least 3 quotes for something like that. So
Actually, I think they did the gazebo as well. I think they were the same guys.
okay, did a beautiful job there as well. All right. Okay. We've talked about Mechanics Bay, the facilities, community center. This is a huge priority.
Right. So this has been on the books, being talked about, even though it wasn't my thing, it's been talked about for 5 or 6 years as
Mhm.
being an issue. If you walk around the back of that building now, you'll probably see 6 different shades of paint on it. Rick has been making his way around there in the back, doing some siding repair and sanding off the majority of the paint that was on those boards. Some of those boards from construction, it looks like they didn't have any priming on them, which may have been the issue with the paint actually coming off it. I can't remember. I was around when it was built. I can't remember if that stuff was pre-painted or not. It may have been factory painted and not painted on site, but I can't remember.
Oh.
So the original bids, I believe, from last year or the year before were about 120 grand. So we've knocked a chunk off that by having Rick take care of all the repair and spot priming some of the things that we can take care of. So it'll be prepped for paint by the time somebody comes in to prime it. We're hoping there'll be minimal prep work for the paint guy coming in. So that's why that price went down a lot from the original bids that we saw a couple of years ago.
That were considerable. Okay. All right. Any questions on the exterior of the community center?
No,
No. Okay. All right.
Nope.
Rick was a great hire, Sean.
Yes, he's working out very well.
Good, good. Okay. All right.
Hey, Julia, this is Steve Knight. If you recall at your budget workshop, the 2 Marks made a presentation regarding the Police Accountability Act, and they were requesting for the body and vehicle cameras in the server.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, they had $30,000 in the operating budget. And in talking it over, I said, why don't we just roll that into the total and make it one big capital project? So the point of my comment is I think that you can fairly take that 80,000 and put 30,000 in next year and 50,000 the following year, because that was, you can certainly verify that with the Marks, but that was how they presented it at the Selectmen's workshop.
That's interesting because we have our guys have been using body cameras for years.
Well, the vehicle cameras are going to be, I don't know. I believe that they're.
Yeah, the vehicle cameras are brand new. So the other question I have, and this is, we have in the past used some of the special duty funds that go into the police fund to pay for some of these items. Although I know that because we haven't had work with COVID, we don't have much in that fund. And that's also the fund that we use to pay for the police vehicles, and then their vehicles get handed down or sold.
Correct.
So, but what you're saying is we can take this out, we can move it out.
Yeah, I think you can put 30 in, leave 30 in the current year and put 50 in the next year, I believe, because we moved the 30 out of the operating budget into here. So I think that you can easily do that.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe if there's some normalcy over the summer, there will be a lot of tree trimming and work, and that police fund can be replenished. So, okay, all right. Is there anything else here, Sean? Nope. You and I discussed on the personnel side, Michael and Peg, we can talk about that when we go to the actual department spreadsheet. But we have one employee that we need to adjust their hours of work. We have, so we'll get to that. It's not a large item, but it's a $2,400 addition to the line to bring that individual from 37.5 to 40 hours, which is something that we have to do for a number of reasons, and we should do. Sean, I thought I would mention that because you and I had discussed it.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that one. Anything else on this list for capital projects that needs to be discussed, Michael and Peg?
Well, I guess the thing that we have to discuss is, does it all stay here this year?
Right, right.
You know, and toward that end, my question is about these last two items that are Park and Rec items. Are these items at the Park and Rec department, and they were on their list, correct?
These are on their list, and I asked Rob for his narrative. You may recall he gave us his narrative at our budget workshop. And I can probably.
Well, I don't think we need to go back to that.
Yes.
I think we have the information, but I just kind of wanted to refresh my memory on that part of it. You know,
Yes.
I guess, you know, my next question really is more of a process type question.
Right.
This is what we've come up with. And then it goes to the Board of Finance.
Right.
And they have the ability to take things out of this list, correct? Or
Right.
do they just decide on financing?
Well, they have input into this list, absolutely, because it's either borrowing, they determine the method of funding.
Right.
So it's either borrowing or it comes out of another fund, in which case they have complete control over what moves forward to the voters.
Okay.
We have a line item elimination option
Okay.
for the town budget, not the school budget.
Right. Right. So it would seem to me that this list now is ready to have a discussion with the Board of Finance. I mean, once we approve it, but it would seem to me that it would not be smart for us to be pulling things out of this list until we have a conversation with the Board of Finance.
Right. In my opinion, this list should go to the Board of Finance and the public at the public hearing. We can go.
I would make a motion in that regard, Julia.
Thank you, Michael.
And I would second that motion.
All right, excellent. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in
No.
favor? Aye.
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 None. Okay, great. All
I
right.
look forward to that discussion with the Board of Finance and with the public.
I agree.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, stop that share. I think there are just a couple other things on the operating side of the budget that we might want to discuss, and I think pretty much covered all of those large items. So let me bring up this screen. Are you there?
Are you looking at the draft budget summary?
I lost the screen. No, right now I'm looking at the Selectmen's budget adjustments.
Yeah, I don't see that screen. There we go.
Here we go. Okay. All right. So we had looked at this because at our last meeting, Angelica and members of the Commission on Aging were with us to talk about social services.
Right.
So these were adjustments that were made, Steve can explain, since our budget workshop.
Right, and we discussed them at our last meeting.
Discussed them at our last meeting.
Right.
So here we've got the question of increasing the social services Heritage Center Program Coordinator from part-time to full-time. We could choose to address that perhaps 6 months into the year to see
And
what,
that would be my preference.
okay, all right. So look at it mid-year.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that there's so many things going on right now that let's see how she works out. And then personally, I feel like I need more information about, I want to see how things are going and what specifically she can do if her hours are increased. So I think she needs a little time on the job before we can ask that question.
And she's doing a great job. I mean, she's doing a
Yeah.
really good job. She's hit the ground running.
I just saw an email that I got from the town that showed a new
COVID age groups.
flyer that came from that talks about social services, and it looks fabulous. So, I think that's great. But I think giving it some time makes sense.
Okay.
I agree completely.
I'll just remove this. These were some of the things that were in that list. I think I can just take this out here.
Yeah, because you have some money still in the current year's budget you could use towards some of those too, don't you?
Let me just jump ahead to that and I'll pull up Sean's sheet. So facilities, additional staff. So we have one employee who, for whatever reason, probably a clerical error, whereas all of his counterparts were hired at 40 hours a week, he works 37.5. So it's a disparity that is quite obvious, and it's something that I would recommend we fix. It's $2,400 to our budget, basically. And that is Roosevelt. So
Julie, can you give us a little background on what happened there? Because he's been with us a long time.
he's been with us for a couple of years, and this came to light. And Sean, I don't know, do you want to discuss this briefly?
I don't want to take up too much time. I just want
No, that's
just a little history. That's all.
It came to light when Sean took over the department, really. And for whatever reason, the prior manager hired him at a very low wage and different set of hours. So based on some of those, some of the things that we looked at, we think it's the right thing to do to bring him up to parity with his peers.
Fine by me.
So
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
okay. And to be clear, the wage is not the same. It's the hours, because there's seniority to consider. So Ben Vega has been with us a long time, but Ben is 40 hours at a different hourly rate, and this individual will be 40 hours at a different hourly rate. But it's the 40 hours a week right now that's really the important thing.
So has he been working 40 hours a week, or he's now going to work 40 hours a week?
He will work 40 hours a week, and we could use the time, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But it really jumped out as something that Sean caught fairly quickly, and this individual now brings up on a regular basis, and it's just something we should do.
Great. Thanks.
So this will, I think, take care of that. The other thing I have in here relates to Sean, and we had talked last year about this new combined position of building official and facilities director. And we set a salary that was for the combined department heads, I want to say about $110,000, which is below that of Jeff Hansen, who has highway and transfer station. And so again, looking at the scope of work that they both have, I feel that the salary should be somewhat similar. So that would be something, and we don't have to decide on that today because we can do that at the end of the fiscal year. So I don't know whether you prefer to budget for a portion of that here or to address it at the end of the year when we look at salary increases for our employees. And we do have a small amount for merit-based increases. So we don't have to do this here. I did want to do Roosevelt in the operating budget this way. but I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think talking about that when we talk about at the end of the year makes sense.
Okay, all right. Because
I do too, and I think, I think, you know, Sean's done a great job of doing many more things over the course of the last year, so we appreciate his work, and I'm sure we'll give it, you know, the consideration it deserves.
I
I
don't
would
think
second
you want to
that.
pay him $15 million, though.
Right, I agree. That's a little bit high, but
more-
14 million, Kim?
right.
14, right, right.
So,
I'm in for that. I'm in for
There you go,
that.
Sean, you good? You good?
okay. I'm looking at the facilities non-capital maintenance projects, this $81,000. And I am drawing a blank.
Well, I thought that was the capital projects that, well, Sean probably knows the answer to that more than anyone else, but
Yeah, I have the list right here.
Yeah, I do too. I just couldn't off the top of my head because we just went through so many things. Share screen. Here it is.
So that number was corrected actually to 110,500. And then it was prioritized. So we prioritized ones and twos and 1-3
Right.
item on that list. So the town hall annex was mini split AC and heat units for the building.
Right. So it's not this stuff. Right. Okay.
it's the
Yeah,
second
so-
page
yeah,
there.
that's it.
You should have a second page. And that's
Yeah,
what
it was
There
the
it is.
second page. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
So the old townhouse you see was the oil tank and the replacement of the electrical service.
Mhm.
The oil tank has been there for probably 50 years. I think it could probably last another year unless your insurance company tells you that you need to take it out.
Mhm.
The community center siding repair, so that 10,000 is for materials for the siding and trim all around the building that our own personnel are going to replace and prep for paint. In the back of the building, it's so tall that we need that boom lift rental. That's a monthly rental.
Yeah.
So we do that in the summertime and maximize the time that we have for that. The HVAC engineering is figuring out how we can improve the heating and cooling system in that building.
Mhm.
And create a maintenance workshop. So we would find a space in the community building somewhere that we can put a small workshop where we can keep all of our electrical tools and probably have a little workbench there with a vacuum that we can make some small stuff or pre-make some small stuff or repair some stuff on that bench. Right now, all of our electrical tools are in the shed all the way down by the playing fields because I don't have any storage in the community building to keep all that gear.
Okay.
We did have the chop saw and the table saw actually in the kitchen for a little while Rick was using it outside, and it was kind of moving its way around the building in different places. So that's what that is, create a maintenance workshop. Town hall, similar to the community building with the engineering of the HVAC system. There's been issues with hot zones and cold zones in that building forever. So we want to see if we can maximize the system that we have,
Yeah.
retrofit it to make it a little better. The alarm panel downstairs we discussed before is
right.
the simplex Grinnell panel. Nobody else will touch it, and it's very old and for a very large building. 80% of the space in that thing is empty, so it's probably getting towards the end of its life. So that would be a panel that anybody could work on. So then we could shop out the maintenance on it. Replace the AZAC trim. A lot of that was done. There's a lot of stuff in the rear that still needs to be taken care of. All the stuff in the front that you can see was done. So that would be materials, and we would take care of that ourselves in-house.
Mhm.
Replace the front steps. That is the main stairs going into the building. I believe there's been prices floating around for a couple of years for that.
We actually got a bid for that.
Really, you never got a number?
Nobody would bid on it. Steve will remember this. And I actually got some recommendations for contractors, and because it was such a small job, and people must have been really busy, they didn't want any part of it.
Yeah,
So,
that's odd.
and it was a larger number than that.
Okay.
Those front steps were large, but anyway, so that's,
Well, that's a priority 2 item anyway, so that's not coming up probably in this budget. I mean, that's something that
Yep.
can get moved on. And it's a masonry, a wood repair at the transfer station in one of the garage bays and in the rear of the office building there. So, you know, that's I don't think it's a structural issue that's going to collapse anytime soon. So I think we have some time to figure out where we're going with that.
okay. All right.
Julia, is there anything in this year's budget that could cover some of those things? In the current year budget?
That's something we can look for. Now, so when we're talking about non-capital repairs, we can't use grant money. We can't use LoCIP money, but we could ask the Board of Finance for a transfer to use the contingency money.
Well, I just didn't know if you had anything in a repair budget that was available. No, okay.
No, because we've done a lot. I mean, Sean can explain, and he doesn't need to tonight because I know we don't want to drag out this meeting, but there were a lot of repairs that had to be done. And so we went ahead and did them. They were not anticipated, so they were not budgeted. So we said, we'll just do them and we'll run out the budget. So we did them, we prioritized.
But
And
this would be a useful, in my opinion, I mean, it would be a good way to use the contingency. And have you haven't used a contingent? Isn't there one contingency that can be used without going to the town?
right, so the Board of Finance can we can go to the Board of Finance and ask for a motion to approve the transfer of the contingency funds for a purpose.
And
So-
this would, to me, this would be a really, it makes sense purpose. You
Yeah.
know, it's to help,
Right.
use the money that's already been approved by voters to fix things that we already own.
This fiscal year, and the Board of Finance did that 2 years ago.
Okay, so that's one thought. And again, another discussion item for when we have a discussion with the Board of Finance.
Yep.
That would cover at least some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Julia, I think it was the number you had on your spreadsheet, 81,000 or so.
Yes,
The number here is 110,
right.
Right.
and the number ones look up to be something like 58 grand or something like that. So I don't know if we can
Right. We can.
delineate where that 81 comes from, but am I wrong? Sean, the ones we had before, the number ones you had listed,
I think I had a mathematical error in the original sheet.
you did.
So the last time we met, it was brought up in the meeting that it wasn't correct.
Okay.
So
I think that was me. Sorry.
now it's corrected.
It's nice to have an accountant around, Peg.
Yeah, well, I don't know if anybody ever said that.
Peg, are you doing the math?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yep.
So I can plug it into the screen.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. $58,000 is what is the number one.
The one
first
priority.
priority items.
And this certainly falls within contingency. If we can use contingency, then we can do most of this this year.
Yeah. And I think that's what we wanted. That would be my preference. I mean, it's money that we have sitting there. We should use it.
Okay.
And then we don't have to put it in this budget.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, Peg, too.
Yeah.
Steve, can you confirm that
If that's what the Board of Finance wants to do, that would be a
Yeah,
recommendation.
obviously, that's, yeah.
all right. Okay, so we'll leave this outside for now.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So the 2,400, I will put into the other full-time. We're going to go to the Board of Finance with the capital list. We're going to discuss these non-capital maintenance projects. We can also show the funding that we have available in LoSiP for some of
Right,
these.
right.
As of, we hope, March 1st of this year, we'll have about $120,000 in LoSiP. And again, there's no reason to wait on these things. We have the funding, we can move ahead.
Right.
And then in 21, 22, we would have another close to $69,000 that could be used.
Julia, if I can make one comment on the contingency. If you recall, when we did it 2 years ago, we ended up not spending all the money that was approved because the projects have to be substantially completed by June 30th. So I think what I'm asking is, or suggesting, is that the Board of Selectmen make this proposal at the next Board of Finance meeting, which is March. And even then, you have April, May. You really have 3 months to kind of substantially complete those projects. And based on past experience, and again, certainly management was different. We lost money that we could have spent. It ends up going back to the unassigned fund balance if you don't spend it. So that's just a recommendation for doing this transfer sooner rather than later.
Okay.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one of the issues we had. We'd hoped to do the front steps that year and finish the painting. So, okay, all right. So I'll stop sharing because nothing here is changing. All right, so we got the 3.43, and I think the only thing we're adding now, if I'm not mistaken, is $2,400. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Yeah, now, so it looks like you still have is the 37,000 still in your calculations right now?
No, it's underneath. Other increases for discussion.
Yeah, but you have a 3.69%, and I just don't know, is the 37 part of that?
No, it's below the line. This is where we are.
Okay,
Yeah, this is where we are.
but you're gonna add the 2,400 to it.
Yeah, I would add the 2,400 to it.
Okay.
So if we just, Steve, I don't want to mess up your spreadsheet.
Yeah, if you right click on the 19 there, you could add a row. Yeah, just right click on that and it'll say insert row.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm on a Mac, so it's,
Oh,
and I'm in a Google sheet. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what I'm going to do, just for purposes of this, I'm going to add.
well, yeah, you could.
Yes, hold on. I'm just gonna put this in as 5,200 so we can see the percentage. Undo. Oh, it's not gonna work. No, it's not gonna work. Steve, do you have the ability to,
Well, I mean, if you just take the
I'm looking
Well,
for.
if you move that,
It's-
Julia, if you
I
take
got it, I
that
got it,
30,
I got it,
if you take that $37,000 out of there
I got it.
then you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because the 3.69% is including the 37,000 and the 24.
no, she did it. She did.
No,
Yeah,
that.
so now she's done it. That's right. But I was just saying, we could have looked at it without those.
Not true.
Yeah.
You're right.
So now we're at 3.45%.
3.45%.
I have a couple of questions
Okay.
that I just want to be sure about. We've had lots of discussions about landscaping and who's taking care of school stuff.
Mhm.
Are the expenses required for the town to take care of those school landscaping
Mhm.
included in the operating budget?
They are not included in this operating budget. This is
Okay,
a point of discussion, and I think at our Board of Finance public hearing, we'll have a chance to discuss that. So Sean and Jeff walk the property. I think it does make sense for the town to do the grounds maintenance, to shift that out of the schools. Number one, their custodians, their new contract states that they don't do any work outside the school building. So that is outsourced. I believe the number is somewhat higher than $50,000 a year. Sean, you can elaborate, or Jeff, who was the gentleman who was doing it before, who retired? And it took him one full day at each location.
Okay.
So it is two, if you look at it this way, instead of outsourcing, it's one person, 2 full days for the entire growing season. So call it roughly 10 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year. So we don't have the manpower in-house to do this. And so when I was saying, we've taken on other areas of Georgetown with our own crew, we would either have to hire part-timers to do this, or we might be at the point where we take a part-timer to a full-time position. We have a part-timer who works 29 hours, who does the park and rec fields, and that's done in Rob Blick's budget. So that's a consideration. So we would be, and we might get more bang for our buck that way, but it's not in this budget at present.
Okay. But but you believe that if we did it, it would cost less than if the schools did it. That's the premise here.
We'd certainly save money on the outsourcing, but if we take a part-timer to a full-timer, it may be a wash, but we'd be getting more bang for our buck because we're doing more. So we've got someone at 29 hours at an hourly rate. And so let's say they are working 40 hours instead of 29 at a lower hourly rate than we outsource. So there's the potential that we'd have to pay benefits. That is probably slightly less than what it costs to outsource, but that person can do more than just the 2 days a week of school facilities, because we have the highway crew doing some of the town's maintenance. We have Sean's crew doing the other mowing, and once growing season starts, they spend a lot of time. Sean can quantify doing exterior work. We have not in the past taken good care of Main Street. So last year we put a little money in the budget to do a better job taking care of Main Street, but the quotes came in so high that we just did the periodic. Sean went down and Jeff's guys, and they cleaned it up at the end of the season, and they cleaned up before Georgetown Day, but that was it. So during the rest of the season, we really should be taking better care of our Main Street.
Okay, but the part for the schools though, why? I know we've had this discussion, but will it be cheaper for the town to do it than the school to do it?
I guess I'm not answering that. It could be a wash, Peg.
Okay. So, but we're believing that it makes sense because we will be in control of that piece.
Well, I think it's something that is it's something that's outside of the scope right now of the school administration and their custodial staff. So they had to outsource it last year because we don't have the manpower in-house at present to take it on. So what I'm saying, we'll have to hire to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If we hired part-time help to do it, we would save money, but we might have other gaps in town is what I'm saying. We're stretched thin, especially if we're doing water pollution now. So we keep taking on more and more with the same guys, and we're kind of at that breaking point.
So would it be, well, I don't want to interrupt your conversation.
No,
no, go.
Perhaps maybe Peg, we can discuss this in the context of making a motion to approve the budget as proposed at $15,432,998.
I would second that. I think we have all the things we need in there for the
I
town.
agree.
Okay, all right. So a motion has been made and seconded, and I think we can continue that conversation about those services at the public hearing. So,
No, I think we've covered all the pieces that we need to cover. And so I'm fine with it. I don't really have any more questions about this.
okay. All
I
right.
don't, and this is the budget we have in front of us, and I think it's the budget we have to consider.
All right. Okay. Should we take a public comment before we vote, or shall we? Yes. Kim?
Just had a question on the garage wash. Did I hear you correctly, Jeff, saying that the ultimate project could be about $500,000 for us to build a truck wash?
That was a number that I heard floating around from other places, so I don't really know. That was kind of off the top of my head. I would, I wouldn't take that as gospel, but it could be up to, I guess is the way I would word it. To build it.
So I would just suggest that the Board of Selectmen consider the cost of the ultimate project before you consider putting an engineering study into the budget. Because if it costs $500,000 to build a wash, and we're washing, it's $1,000 to wash trucks, we could wash our trucks for many years and have somebody else do it before we have to build it ourselves. Just saying. I mean, we can talk more about it at the Board of Finance meeting, but it would be nice to have some clarification on that number before you present to the Board of Finance.
So just to kind of rebut that a bit, we're having our trucks washed maybe once, maybe twice a season with a truck wash. We're going to wash them like today. We would have washed them after this storm. Next time it snows, we'll wash them. So it's not like we're getting, if I washed them like we had a truck wash, it would have been 20,000 already this year, just this month to wash trucks. So, you have to look at it that way too. We're not getting the same service from a company as we would doing it ourselves, I guess is the
Okay.
bottom line.
But $20,000 in 1 year, and if it's 500,000, you're going to be, it's.
I said
many,
20,000. I said 20,000 this month already. We would have
Okay.
spent if we washed like we would wash, because that would be every day, because it snowed every day in February.
Right. So it's
So,
dependent. Weather dependent.
I think we just need firm numbers before it goes to when it goes to the BOF, because this is a question that will come up.
And Kim, it's a good question, and I think I'm looking, Julia, back on the budget number on that presentation that Jeff, you shifted 50,000 over to next year, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we had any money for that study in the budget as I saw it. I may be wrong, but Kim,
I
you
thought it was
suggesting we
in
should
this
put
year,
some
but-
in, or
No, what we did
it
is
moved, right?
Yeah, so
Yes,
we
so
engineering for the wash bay is out, and we were going to
put some money someplace for a study?
regional. We were going to get in touch.
Discuss it, I thought. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was gonna try to put together and get a real number what it would cost for the engineering too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pushed out, Kim.
So,
Thanks.
thanks for clarifying that, Kim.
Yeah. Okay, is there any additional public comment? I'm going to try and adjust my screen. Yes, Chris. I can't see your face. You have your hand up.
Oh, there's the mute button. Sorry, I don't use Zoom at work, so it's new to me. Yeah, I just had a question. Well, I mean, I know this is public comment, so you don't have to answer. I guess you're not obligated to answer. But
Can we know who that is, please?
oh, I'm
name
sorry. My
that-
name is Chris Trissett, and I'm on Drummer Lane.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hi. yeah, my question was just around, you mentioned a little bit about some of the school maintenance, et cetera. I didn't really understand if any capital improvement projects at the education level, would that be within the education budget? My understanding would be in the selectmen's budget. Is that correct?
No,
I mean-
so you're two parts to that. So the Board of Ed will present their capital items. And I believe that was discussed the other day, and there are not, I think there's only a very small number of things. So the town would borrow for all of those projects and the debt would be in the town budget, Chris. But yes, ultimately, all of the school capital projects should be on here.
Okay.
Once they're approved by the school board, they
Yeah.
will go on this list.
All right. So the steps would be they would approve it and then they would, ship that over to you and they would sit here. Okay. I appreciate the process clarification. That was really my only point. Thank you.
Because I think the only thing they had hanging out there were some windows.
Okay. Yeah.
Steve Nidick, is that your recollection?
For the schools?
Yeah.
I think they talked about Chris Parkin last night mentioned, I think security and I don't remember windows. It was something else. I want to say elevators. Does that sound right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, there were two items that he mentioned.
Okay.
But
We know it's been on there for a while, so.
yeah, their capital committee has not formalized those requests yet.
Right. But we expect that they will, Chris, and they'll go on this list.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome. Are there any other questions from the public? Anybody see any hands? Nope. We're a small group now. Everyone went to the planning commission, I think. All right.
As you do.
All right. Is there any other business this evening?
Do we need to vote?
We do need to vote. Thank you for the reminder. All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Both, and so we'll send this number on to the Board of Finance at their public hearing in March. And terrific, thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Night,
Thanks.
everyone.
Night, everyone.
Sean, thank you.
Right.
Bob, it's good to
Thanks,
see
Sean
you.
and Jeff. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, Christy. Good night, Sean. Good night, Chris.
Good night.
And
Goodbye.
bye.